meaningful. So then let's talk about your program, because you've mentioned that there are a number of things within your program that there are. So let's explain what they are. You started out by talking about Sticks and Stones.
Right.
Tell me what Sticks and Stones is. First of all, I like the title. Tell me about that title, Sticks and Stones.
Well, actually, I have to give credit to Barbara Davies, who worked with me in 1996 when I was an intern at the YWCA, and she came up with the title, so I always want to give her credit. She was very creative. I think she had a marketing background. But it was a great name, and we love it, and we just keep expanding upon it. So Sticks and Stones was born in 1997, and that was targeting children that have been victims of domestic violence specifically. The program's grown to include children who are not only exposed to domestic violence, but that have been exposed to some sort of trauma, loss of a parent, abuse outside of the home, things like that.
So the ages can range from what to what?
The program is for kindergarten through 5th graders. We're really trying to hit them young because, you know, we want them to really get this message that they can change the cycle of violence. They can stop the cycle of violence for their own lives. Maybe not currently with their current situation if we aren't able to affect change there, but they can make a difference once they grow up. We're planting seeds as they have their own children in their actions at school with their peers. They can change.
And that's so critical, because that's what you see. It becomes a generational thing where the cycle repeats itself and repeats itself. And so that's what you're trying to break.
That's
and I mean, this is a
harmony
great, you know, Tricia is a great example of that harmony at home and changing the cycle. Okay, and then there's something that's called What About the Children?
Right, right. So let's see, let me just finish with Sticks and Stones, because Sticks and Stones, so it's a school-based counseling program. It's a 10-week group counseling program for these kids, so they complete a 10-week cycle. So we can actually serve in one school during a school year between 60 and 75 children in this program. It's a very cost-effective program as well, because it is group counseling. The groups are small because the subject matter is very intimate and very personal, so we keep the groups maximum 5 students, usually between 3 and 5. So we expanded the school-based program to include extended family, because we're realizing that that population is a growing population in our county where relatives such as grandparents, aunts, uncles are caring for children. Now often these children have lost parents to incarceration, drug abuse, or death, and they're being cared for by our relatives. So we're educating their relatives on how to care for them with the traumas they have suffered and helping these children through their own transitions.
I'm going to stop you there because we need to go to a break, and then when we come back, we'll finish up. So we'll take a short break, and we'll be right back. Julianne, you see it there on the screen. Tell me about What About the Children, and let's just go quickly through the different programs.
What About the Children are classes for divorcing and separating families, usually high conflict families that have been referred to us through the courts, and that's offered 4 times a year throughout Monterey County. Okay. And then the Teen Enrichment Summer Camp.
Which, Tricia, you mentioned.
Right.
Tell me about that.
That's going to be serving 10 girls, teenage girls between the ages of 14 and 18. We'll take them out to a property that the Big Sur Land Trust has donated to us for a week, and we'll have them focus on the importance of the choices they make today and how that's going to affect their futures.
Wonderful. And then community outreach?
Community outreach is we're in the process of developing parent education programs, which should be out sometime next year. And our Adopt a School program is where we're reaching out to businesses in our community to help support our Sticks and Stones program in the schools.
And we have some costs that sort of breaks down what the costs are that people, that businesses can help and support you. So you see it there. You see the cost for one child for one session. I mean, it's minimal. Come on. I mean, you know, Starbucks for 2 days, and that's the cost. And then it goes further from there, 10 weeks for a group of counseling, and breaks down the number of the children. And so this is really a way that the community and businesses can support you there. And so I do want to just come back, and before we leave, we do have, you wrote a book. Tell us about the book.
The Innocent Victims. That is a handbook I wrote in 2002, and it is educating the adult on the effects of domestic violence on children, and it is currently around the nation, 20,000 copies in shelters and agencies, and it is helping helping victims of domestic violence realize that this is affecting the kids and they need to make a change, and they're getting out.
And you also have a Spanish language version of this.
It's in English and Spanish.
All right. Tell me the response for the adults, because this is so critical, and Tricia, I want you to maybe say something about that too, because I think it's so critical for people to understand their actions or the actions of others, how it just changes who the dynamics of who that individual is that's being hurt in whatever fashion it is that you're hurting them. So can you just sort of expound on that, if you would, please?
Just on how the individual that's being harmed by the domestic violence?
Yes. You know, the fact that you wrote this book for parents so that they understand what's happening.
That's a really good question, because so often a parent will stay in a violent home. They think they're protecting their children.
Right.
Get them over to grandma's, put them in the room. They're not being affected by it, when in reality they are. Every moment of every day they feel the tension that that parent is going through. They're walking on eggshells right along with that parent. When is the violence going to break out?
It's almost as if they're in a war zone.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so all of the things that we hear about post-traumatic stress from the people who come back from the war and all of the effects of that, that's really what we're placing a child in, when whatever kind of abusive situation it is that they're in. That's a circumstance.
Yes, that's a very good analogy. That's exactly what they're going through.
Okay. What would you like to add before we go?
I did my research report when I did that movie. I did a research report on child sexual abuse, and the biggest thing that came up when I was looking at it was post-traumatic stress disorder for these kids, and no one realizes it. Like, I was surprised to see that, but kids get it just from witnessing the violence, just from being a part of it.
On a personal level, can you identify that you had any of that?
You know, for me, like, I had my troubles, and I had days when I was really upset and really depressed and like, oh, why is this happening to me, or why did it happen at all to anyone? And I was more worried about the people around me and the other people that were hurt more than myself. Like, I kind of adapted to it, and I like to say that it affected me, and I wouldn't change what happened to me because it shapes who I am. I mean, it was bad. It was a bad experience, but it shaped who I am, and I wouldn't change it.
Are you always amazed by the children that you work with and how they are so empowered, and as she said, it makes them who they're going to be, and you never know, it lays the foundation for probably something incredible in their lives later. Oh,
I feel like I want to cry when I hear Tricia talking. She's just made it so far, and so many young people do that. They get through it, and they go on to become amazing contributors to our society.
All right. I want to thank you both for being here. I certainly appreciate it. And as we go, what we're going to do is we're going to put up all sorts of community resources for you. Any sort of support that you may need, be it Harmony at Home or some other organization that can support you regarding violence. You see it here on the screen. This is Harmony at Home, and we're going to see you next week.